What's up? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit that like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the politics and BS. So the election is less than 2 weeks away. Early voting is already in progress, and it is absolutely mind-boggling to me that this election could be close. That this horrible waste of flesh that is running for the third time from prison, not really for president, but running from prison. And quite frankly, I would be surprised if he ever served a day in it, but he deserves the rest of his life in it as far as I'm concerned. That this is going on and it's just more and more stuff coming out about this trash bag is terrifying to me that it could be close. And let's be clear, Project 2025 is a real thing. The things that are coming out about this horrible person is real. And those that know. And because what is happening or could happen would not affect them directly is why so many of them are complicit and stay silent. But now that we're less than 2 weeks away, you have people that are actually coming out and admitting some terrible things that we should have known about a whole lot longer than we do less than 2 weeks away from the election. Not saying that it's going to sway the minds of those that already feel the way that they feel about voting for this waste of flesh, because it really sickens me that you will go on, you will go into government places where they actually are playing Fox News all day. That shouldn't even be allowed, but it happens. So you have people that are continuously being they're being propagandized by this so-called network where all they do is trash Kamala and what they call liberals and prop up a racist, authoritarian, desiring waste of human flesh that has nothing Christ-like about him, but they want to claim that he is for Christian values. It makes absolutely no sense to me. No sense whatsoever. But this is what's going on. So this news just broke that, you know what? I'm not even going to go into it. I'm going to go ahead and let somebody else spell it for you. And then I'm going to continue with my commentary.
But we begin tonight with yet another reminder of just how low Trump can go, particularly when it comes to this country's servicemen and women. The Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg, who just 4 years ago broke the news that Donald Trump described American fallen soldiers as suckers and losers, has a brand new piece out tonight that lays out stunning new details about the extent of Trump's megalomania and disregard for American military and structure. First, he gets Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, to go on the record and confirm that Trump did ask him why his generals weren't more like German generals. Kelly tells Goldberg that he asked Trump to clarify, saying, quote, "Do you mean the Kaiser's generals? Surely you can't mean Hitler's generals." To which Trump said, yeah, Hitler's generals. Goldberg explains that much of Trump's disdain for members of the U.S. military is due to their willingness to accept low wages. It's crystal clear throughout this piece that Trump is filled with disdain. But the most disgusting allegation, which his team denies, is that Trump offered to pay for the funeral of specialist Vanessaguillen, who was bludgeoned to death by a fellow soldier at Fort Hood in Texas. It took 3 months to find her remains. For months, activists, politicians, and specialist Guillen's family called for an investigation into the Army base. The Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy, ordered an investigation into Fort Hood's command culture. The investigation led to the firing of dozens of people. In a press conference, McCarthy said that the murder shocked our conscience. The Atlantic reported that Trump didn't like that. He was agitated by McCarthy's comments and raised questions about the severity of the punishments dispensed to senior officers and non-commissioned officers. Publicly, he offered to pay for the funeral services of Specialist Guillen. But it's what he allegedly said privately when he found out what it cost that will disgust you. According to Goldberg, who spoke with attendees and saw contemporaneous notes of the meeting, Trump became angry and shouted, quote, "It doesn't cost $60,000 to bury an effing Mexican." He turned to his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and issued an order. Don't pay it. Later that day, he was still agitated. "Can you believe it?" he said, according to a witness. "Effing people trying to rip me off." Goldberg also reports that Trump, while still president, wanted to call back to active duty Admiral William McRaven and General Stanley McChrystal, who had become critical of Trump, so that they could be court-martialed because of their opposition. Finally, Goldberg reports that Trump told senior advisors that he didn't understand why the U.S. government placed such value on finding soldiers missing in action. To him, they could be left behind because they had performed poorly by getting captured. Look, I know it is easy to lose track of this man's depravity, but these reports serve as daily reminders of who he really is: a selfish, vile, wannabe dictator guided by vengeance. Joining me now is retired Army General Paul Eaton. He's a senior advisor to Vote Vets, and Charlie Sykes, MSNBC contributor and columnist. General Eaton, I read this piece in horror. I want to read just a little bit more of it. This is how it starts. It says the personal qualities displayed by Trump in his reaction to the cost of the Guillen funeral, which he described: contempt, rage, parsimony, racism, hardly surprised his inner circle. Trump has frequently voiced his disdain for those who serve in the military and for the devotion to duty, honor, and sacrifice. Former generals who have worked for Trump say that the sole military virtue he prizes is obedience. As his presidency drew to a close and in the years since, he has become more and more interested in the advantages of dictatorship and the absolute control over the military that he believes it would deliver. "I need the kind of generals that Hitler had," Trump said in a private conversation in the White House, according to two people who heard him say it. General Eaton, that type of man as commander-in-chief once seems bad enough. Your thoughts on what we learned in this report and the idea of him being commander-in-chief of the United States military again?
Joy, thank you for having me on. And you just gave me a piece of information that goes personal to me. My father was missing in action for 38 years over Laos during the Vietnam War. My country, our country, spent quite a lot of man hours and quite a little bit of treasure to find my father and his co-pilot, brought him back for a full military funeral honors, in time for my mother to be alive, to be able to witness that. That was a big deal. And that's what we do. We don't leave men behind. And the whole German general thing is, you just can't make this stuff up. The German generals, Erwin Rommel, brilliant general, tried to kill Hitler. Had he been able to do that, how many Germans and Americans would be alive today? So here we've got this guy, this former president, this guy who got voted out of office, who is saying over and over and over again, repeated, put in the press, guys like General Kelly telling us exactly what went on in closed doors. And yet, this is a close race. This puts so much in question about what's going on in this great country. And we need to box this guy up and settle it forever and win this election. He cannot be commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the United States ever again.
You know, Charlie, it's that thing where you realize that calling Trump Hitler to him would not be an insult, because he seems to really, really admire Adolf Hitler. You know, it isn't just J.D. Vance who said he might be America's Hitler. In his mind, it seems that he would like to be America's Hitler. And the other piece of it is this belief that the military are toys that he can put on a chessboard, that he can play with, that they belong to him, that every person in the military is his property. And then his disdain that if they are injured or hurt, he doesn't ever want to see or hear about them again. They now are beneath him. Why in the hell is any veteran, any member of the military, voting for this man who hates them?
So this is one of those take a deep breath moments, because this would be breathtaking and disqualifying if we had not lived through the past 8 years, right? If we didn't know this was Donald Trump. The contempt, the pure contempt, the disdain, the ignorance, the lack of knowledge and respect for service. And, you know, go back to the beginning of all of this. Go back to 2015 when he was first asked about John McCain, when he said he didn't think John McCain was a hero. There's a through line. We know that Donald Trump, who tries to wrap himself in all of these symbols of patriotism and support for the military, actually has thorough contempt for the actual men and women who serve, that he's willing to throw them under the bus in this particular way. So this is one of those questions. And the general asked us, I think, goes right to the heart of it. 2 weeks from now, we're going to have an election. Are the American people going to look at this man and say, yes, let's put him back in power? Are veterans going to say, yes, we trust this man to be the commander-in-chief? And the only answer to your question about how that's even possible is, do they know this story? Now, I'm not being critical at all of General Kelly for going on the record and confirming all of this. But there's 2 weeks left. The stakes could not be higher. It's not enough just to give an interview. He needs to go on television. There needs to be ads. There needs to be a concerted effort to inform the American people about who this man is and what he thinks of them and what he is prepared to do for them. Because it's not enough for you and I and all of us to talk about this. We're talking to the converted largely. There are millions of men and women who I think that if they knew these stories would be genuinely horrified if they knew what Donald Trump said about that young woman, what he said about the missing in action, the way he reacts to POWs, and his loathing for the men and women who are willing to put their lives on the line to protect this country. And I think that has to happen in the next 14 days.
Yeah, and the point, General Eaton, is that Fox isn't going to tell them. And a lot of these people watch that. They watch right-wing media. They'll never hear about this. They won't be told it by the podcast they listen to by their right-wing media. They'll just be locked out of this information. And yet, what I've read in Jeffrey Goldberg's piece, General Eaton, is that he believes that when the George Floyd protests happened, they should have been treated the way that Xi Jinping used his military in Tiananmen Square. That he believes that the military should be used to shoot American citizens, to round up American citizens. He has no respect, not just for the military, but for the American people, because he thinks so little of them that he thinks he'll just order his generals to commit war crimes inside the United States. And so, I guess I'll ask you the same question. Are there ways in which veterans and military folks, I know that Vote Vets is doing, heroic work trying to do that, but how do we break through the wall of disinformation that is flooding our members of the United States military who may never, ever read this story?
Joy, in the mess halls, in the waiting rooms, in the company rooms, you see Fox News. And if all you watch is Fox News, you're not going to get the whole story, obviously. And when you talk to veterans, when you talk to active duty military and say, here are the serious points that I'd like to make for you, they will immediately go to fact check what you just told them and find out that what you just told them is in fact true, because their diet of Fox News has turned them into Fox News regurgitators. And it is when you talk about breaking the information cycle and getting inside the news cycle that we have to do. And Mr. Sykes is spot on. We've got 14 days, and I can't tell the Secretary of Defense to immediately shut down Fox News, but that is a serious issue. And trying to penetrate that has got to be left, right, word of mouth.
Listen, I'm not here to say that every person that has run for president, and even Kamala, that they are the most upstanding individuals in the country. I'm not. But Donald Trump is one of the worst, if not the worst. I wasn't alive for all of the other ones, so I can't really speak to that. All I know is what some of what they share about history, and we know that they don't go into everything, so I can only know what is shared. I wasn't there to experience things. But based on what we see going on right now, he has been the worst person to ever grace that office and never deserves to be in it ever again. The fact that any person that is Latino could say that they would vote for him, something like he says about people that would vote for Kamala, something is wrong with their heads. Any Latino, or honestly any person that would vote for him, any person that claims that they are a Christian, what, because he overturned Roe versus Wade, which it's about a medical situation. We know a lot of these people. There are even some people who are like Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't believe in getting a blood transfusion. They don't. you know what? It's like, if you don't want to do these things for your own self, then don't do it. But to try to dictate what other people do with their lives and say that they're doing what's best for the country when it has nothing to do with you is crazy. And I am so over these people that try to put people in a box, in a category, because I am not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. I'm a person that minds my business, and I have my own personal beliefs. I will never try to inflict those on anyone left or on anyone else. But like I was speaking with someone yesterday, it is a huge slap in the face, because there are a whole lot of people who mainly vote Democratic, a lot of African American people that are far from liberal, because they try to put this label on people who vote Democratic as liberal, as if that means anything goes. We know that there are a whole lot of people that are African American who are not so-called liberal. They're some of the most conservative people that you could ever think of, but they have made these labels into some things that they're not. Like, they use the term woke as if it's something negative, when being woke just means that your eyes are open to see all of the BS that's going on, and you're not asleep and allowing them to rock you to sleep. So they will flip these terms to make them into things that are negative. And so, honestly, I do feel like a lot of these conservatives are cons. Like, let's take the ervative off and just leave the C-O-N-S, cons. A lot of these people are cons. They're con artists, and I'm just so over it. The fact that they could be for somebody like this person to be running the country because it's going to benefit the very few, whereas the majority have to suffer. Because as much as they want to say that so-called Caucasians or white people are the majority, clearly they really aren't. A lot of people don't participate in the census, and the reason why they truly don't want Roe v. Wade to be a thing anymore is because they feel like they're being wiped out. Their numbers are decreasing while others are increasing. And quite frankly, that might be the truth. I don't know. But I know for sure that most people should not want to live in a country where only the very few are benefiting from what is going on, while everyone else just has to deal with it and suffer. This is not a Christian nation. I might be somebody that believes in God and Jesus, and I actually do, but I far from believe that this is a Christian nation, because if it was a Christian nation, it never would have had slavery be a thing that existed. So you can't tell me that that's something that is a Christ-like thing. As much as it may try to make that right in the Bible and all that other stuff, listen, I'm not even going to go into all of that. But what I will say is this: Donald Trump is disgusting. I really just want to put him in the past. I'm going to keep talking about it. I've had to put a pause on it because it's just been so overwhelming with everything that's been going on in the news and just in my personal life lately. So I really haven't been keeping up with a lot of the stuff. I've been keeping up with it, but I haven't been recording and creating content about a lot of this stuff. But I'm going to stay on this. And unfortunately, I don't believe that it's going to be over on Election Day, just like last year. But I'm hoping and praying and doing my part to make sure that we will be able to put him into the past, into history, and not into something that's going to be proceeding moving forward. So I'm just asking you to do your part. You ain't got to like Kamala. You don't have to be a Democrat. Just like all these other Republicans that are coming out and saying, look, I have never voted Democratic before in my life, but this is really not about being a party. It's about putting Donald Trump in the past, packing him up, shipping him off, and let him deal with his own personal grievances with the things that he has done to break the law in his own time. I'm tired of him. He is disgusting. And it really just makes me angry when I hear the things that continues to come out of his disgusting mouth. I really hope Kamala wipes the floor with that orange rag, and I really hope that you will assist her in making that happen. So guys, I just wanted to share my thoughts on it. You can let me know what you think in the comments. You know Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.